Well, I appreciate everybody being here today. Really, really cool day, for the Minnesota Vikings organization. We're so excited to have the opportunity to introduce Brian Flores as our defensive coordinator. Brian's a dynamic leader, someone with an excellent vision for defense. He sees the big picture as a former head coach, and I think he's going to bring just a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge to our entire coaching staff. Brian brings an immense amount of knowledge and expertise to our franchise. Really enjoyed the entire process, start to finish, getting to know Brian better. Had a previous relationship with him and always have been a huge fan of his from afar as he's grown and our football journeys have kind of gone on their own paths. But, really excited for his plan for our defense, both schematically and, a philosophy of how we're going to play, which we can get into. But, we'll have time to really dive in. We've spent most of this week, and we will continue to do so, looking at everything, all things from our roster to our plan of attack defensively to how we're going to attack free agency and the draft, and that will be ongoing. But circling back to Brian, he's somebody that I targeted immediately. One of the first people that I reached out to in hopes of getting the opportunity to speak with him and knowing just the possibilities he had, not only here but around the league. I knew it would be very competitive to get Brian here, and so when we were able to do that, once again, just how excited I am to be able to add this kind of individual to our organization. And he's already had a positive impact here in a short time. I can't wait to get him around our players. And then ultimately, nobody better to bring here as we continue to chase that championship standard that we talked about previously, and having been a coordinator for a championship defense before, and been around some of the coaches he's been around, and also what he's been able to do as a head coach was not lost on me throughout the whole process. And just once again, thank you for being here today for Brian. Very excited about this moment for our team, and with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Thanks, Kev.
You got it.
I've known Kev a long time. I think those are the nicest things you've ever said.
I talk a lot. Get used to that. These guys will tell you
well,
that.
Thank you guys for joining us today. This is a very exciting time for me and my family. There's a few people I'd like to thank. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Will family, Kevin, Kwesi, Rob Brzezinski for affording me this opportunity. The Rooney family, Mike T, Omar. My time in Pittsburgh was tremendous, although short-lived. I feel like I made some great relationships there that are going to last for a long time. So my time there was great. And then my family, my wife Jenny. I've got 3 kids, Miles, Max, and my daughter Liliana. She's 6, so my boys are 10 and 9, and my daughter's 6. Through this entire process, my boys, it was Minnesota and Minnesota only. They didn't care about any of the other opportunities. Obviously, they're big Justin Jefferson fans, so when we accepted the position, there was a lot of grittying going on in my house. And I have my own version of the gritty that nobody probably wants to see here.
Me and you both.
I'm just excited to be part of this storied franchise with this incredible fan base. U.S. Bank. It's I haven't told you the story, but we were in the Super Bowl there in 2018. And my daughter actually took her first steps at the stadium on picture day at U.S. Bank. So it's kind of surreal to have this opportunity. But the process, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about the entire process that Kev alluded to earlier. When I came here to Minnesota, I'd already interviewed at a few other places. They were all, great opportunities, and I'm thankful to Mr. Bidwell, Monty Austinfort in Arizona, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry in Cleveland, Arthur and Terry in Atlanta. Thankful for those opportunities. But when I came here and I sat with Kev, and I met with Kwesi, and Wes Phillips came in, and Grant was in there, and we just had I just felt it was just such a great kind of camaraderie immediately. I walked out of here and I called my wife immediately, and I said, with all the things that are going on, I felt like this was the place for us, for my family, for me. I think there's a great opportunity for me personally and professionally to grow, to be around Kevin, who I know he's known as an offensive coach, but when in that meeting, he can coach some defense too. I'll tell you that right now, and special teams, and his knowledge of the personnel, and Kwesi's acumen from a personnel standpoint. I just felt like there was opportunity for me to grow professionally and personally. So that was a big part in the decision to come here, and or accept the opportunity to come here if offered. So I'm excited. My family's excited. I'm looking forward to getting started. I've talked to a number of players already. Like Kev said, in a short period of time, I've just had such an amazing, few days here, and I'm looking forward to the future here in Minnesota.
You mentioned the process. I guess when you accepted the job, were you still in the mix for the Cardinals head position? And if so, why did you maybe drop out of that to take this particular job?
Yeah, I mean, there was still an opportunity with Arizona. Like I said, this was, you almost get a gut feeling. I think we've all kind of had those that, this was the place for me and my family. This was the right opportunity. It's funny, I was in church a couple weeks ago as this was all going on, and the pastor, Brian Edmonds in Pittsburgh, he said in life there's instances where you can either have control or you can have growth, and you can't have both. And that kind of, that hit me pretty good. And I just felt like this was a great opportunity for growth.
What are your plans for the defense? What do you see that you have to do here? What kind of defense you want on that field?
A defense, that first and foremost, the good defenses I've been around, and something I'm always going to harp on. I want guys who are having fun out there. That there's a joy as you watch them play. That you guys can see it. Anyone watching can see that there's joy watching them, that there's camaraderie, that they're fighting together. But, all the things that you always hear, tough and smart and disciplined, and physical. I'm big on versatility. Guys being able to play multiple spots, and, in order to do that, we got to get them coached up in those multiple spots, and I'm excited to work with our staff, to work with Kevin, and we'll cast a wide net as far as the things that we want to be capable of defensively. Do we want to be a check team? Do we just want to call it and run it? I mean, we can get into a myriad of things that we could potentially do, but I think right now, in these early stages, we'll cast a wide net, and then we'll see, what we do best, and we'll try to highlight the things that our players do well, and try not to do some of the things that they don't do well. I think that's kind of a common, phrase that coaches use oftentimes. I think it's something that we should do. It makes sense to me. But tough and smart. I want guys that have fun. Again, it can be a grueling game. It can be a physical game, but I want our guys to have joy as they play.
Kevin, in this process, as you sat down with them, how much have you two really taken a hard, honest look at your personnel to figure out what fits and what you need to do to upgrade or find guys that fit the system he wants to run?
Yeah, I felt like that was an important part of the process throughout. I went through a very thorough process with a lot of really, really great candidates throughout this entire time. But that was a part of it. And I think you just heard him speak to, figure out what we're going to do well, when this total picture kind of comes together. And I think there's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of dialogue. I think his fit alongside Kwesi and myself and really trying to build a personnel plan that's thorough, that's accounting for the things we're really excited about, the guys on our roster, and then maybe where we need to go to add some pieces to ultimately achieve the goals of wanting to be versatile, wanting to be multiple, and then ultimately be really tough to move the ball against with the ability not only to put packages of things together that we do well, but also being in an attacking mindset of taking away some things that the opponent does well. It was interesting as we got into just random questions throughout the interview process. I kept on hearing things where our football foundation and philosophies are very, very similar. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking offense or defense, special teams, time and time again, characteristics of not only our team, but maybe my personality, how I want our team to be coached, just kept coming out and in a real organic, natural way. And that was a really positive thing for me.
Aggressiveness, is that?
Yeah, I think just the ability, not every scenario and situation is the same. And I think he's learned this term that he used called weighty downs. I think he learned it maybe from Mike T. But, those critical downs where, the ability of a coordinator with the experience that B-Flow has to apply pressure to the offense in a lot of different ways. And that can look a lot of different ways, week in and week out. What are the things that we want to do to maximize our guys' chances of success while also, in some cases, mitigating risk, but making sure that in the end, the aggressive mindset of our football philosophy that I came in here, funny enough, 1 year ago today, and introduced, it was a football philosophy. It was not an offensive philosophy. It was not any other aspect than all 53 guys, our entire roster coming together, led by us as coaches, to play the game the way that we envision playing and staying true to that philosophy in a way where our players live it, they breathe it, and when they get out on the field, they're flying around playing fast because they've got that confidence in what we're trying to do.
I mean, you talk about aggressiveness. How much of that, the need for that or the value on that played into just the shift from Ed to Brian now, to just being more aggressive on defense as a whole?
Yeah, I think, you can look at it a lot of ways from, my own personal evaluation of, my role in our entire team this year. And I've gone through a real thorough process of so many ways that I'll be better for our team. And really, the way I look at it is, I want the closest thing, resemblance to my personality as the head coach of this team to be articulated in how we play. And I think Brian coming in here will give not only the similar football backgrounds and philosophies, but also just the mindset of being ultra competitors and wanting to try to win that football game each and every Sunday, however, by any means necessary. So it can look a lot of different ways, Ben, and maybe it'll be something people will notice right away. Maybe it'll take some time to really come to life. But, my confidence in Brian Flores to come in and really side by side have a huge role in building our team for 2023 is what I'm most excited about.
In Miami, there was a lot of sort of external analysis of the type of defense you ran there in terms of extra pressure and man-to-man coverage. And I was curious if that sort of represents core beliefs for you, or did you just think that was sort of the right thing to do at that time with those people there?
I'm aggressive by nature. Philosophically, that's something that I believe in. I think, Kev alluded to, what I left out of here feeling like there was a shared vision. He's aggressive offensively. I'm aggressive defensively. That kind of philosophy was aligned. It's probably the best word to use. Yeah. Just to answer your question, yeah, by nature, I like to be aggressive. Again, not reckless. There's a method to the madness. There's a rhyme and reason, whether it's down and distance, field position, etc. But I think it's not about me or Kev, or it's about the players. It's about their ability to execute. It's about our ability to teach and coach and put them in the right positions and get them doing things that we think they can execute. And we'll do our very best to do that. But yes, by nature, I'd like to play an aggressive style.
What types of players do you need to play a kind of quintessential Brian Flores defense? What types of players does it take to do that well?
I think a lot of players that are here kind of fit the bill. Smart, tough, physical, guys who love to play, team first. There's, you need dirty work guys on your team. And by that, I mean guys who are taking on double teams so somebody else makes the tackle, or spilling the play so somebody else makes a tackle, or batting the ball down, or, offensively, it's a receiver who blocks, or tight ends who block, and those dirty work guys who don't get as much, media love as some of the other players. But those guys who are team first and selfless, I think again, we're still going through it. I'm still in the early stages of getting to know this team, and but I'm looking for guys like that. Guys who, in a world where everybody wants to be the center of attention, those guys, they want to do what's best for the group. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of those types of guys on our roster already, and I'm looking forward to working with them and putting them in the best positions to help the team win. Ultimately, that's what we're all here for.
Brian,
Question for
both.
both.
For you in your career, last couple of years even, how has that sort of shaped your view of it, and how you see your place in the league and stuff?
I think every situation is an opportunity to learn and grow. Good, bad. There's always basically obstacles, in our professional lives and our personal lives. But there's also, great situations where, you're great moments, with family, with friends, professionally in football. So there's always ups and downs. And I think, there's always ups and downs within a season as well. So I try to use those, those situations as learning opportunities. How do I become better from, any situation, good or bad. And I hope our players, see that. I hope I can be an example of that for other people. I know Kev's, dealt with some things in his professional and personal life, and I think you overcome, you move forward, and I'm lucky to be here. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to get going.
Ryan, what is it? You're coaching the NFL, but you still have that ongoing lawsuit. I guess what is that situation?
I understand the question. I do. Specific to the lawsuit, I'm not going to, dive too deep into it. It's ongoing. Professionally, I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. This is what I love to do. I was talking to Tatum earlier about, my wife's a teacher as well. So we go back and forth about teaching methods, and she's the one who told me about IEPs, individual education programs, and basically every player we have has their own individual program. So, that's what that's what I was put here to do, is to coach and to teach and make an impact, and that's where my focus always is. Obviously, diversity is important to me as well. I'm not going to run away from that. But when I walk in this building, you see diversity, really across the board. in every department, and that's exciting too. So that's those are things that are ongoing. Obviously, the lawsuits ongoing, but I'm where my feet are right now. My feet are right here in Egan.
Brian, is it your hope to, despite the question to follow up on what you just said, but is it your hope to, as early as next year, get back into the interviewing for head coaches and coaching jobs? And if so, in your situation, having been a head coach and maybe looking forward, do you identify someone on staff as your potential candidate to succeed you and groom him as you go along?
I think I'm always trying to, and I've always tried to help young coaches or younger coaches, basically improve and get better. Here's some things that, you can get better. If your goals are to do this, then here are the things that, you should be doing. That won't change. Specific to, the first part of your question. I'm where my feet are. I'm very excited to be here. I think, any other opportunities that present themselves in the future, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Obviously, I have goals and things that I'd like to accomplish in the future, but those can change, and I'm happy right now in Minnesota. I really am. I'm happy here with Kevin, and this opportunity is something that I'm overjoyed to be a part of this organization, and we'll see what happens in the future. But as far as always trying to help others improve, that's always happening. Players, coaches, anyone I'm around, my kids, their friends, whoever. I'm always trying to help others improve.
Coach Flores,
What did you learn last year about managing the defensive side of the ball with your other roles as offense and head coach, and how would you apply that to your
Yeah, Kevin, that's a great question, because I think I remember, throughout the year, in my own personal way, updating you guys on how I was doing with that. Some of those questions that came about. It was a process for me as a first-time head coach, a play caller, managing the situations of the game, making sure that my communication with the whole staff was up to the standard that I wanted it to be, and those are some of the things that I look to continue to improve on, and whether it was a new coach in a role like the defensive coordinator role, or continuing to build on that game day relationship with our whole staff. It's something I'm going to really focus on, and I think it starts and has already started with how we put together this football team, how we want to practice, how we want to prepare our guys, having gone through an entire season together, and then ultimately just the comfort level for me of understanding how I can maximize my time, not only during that 3.5 hour window on Sunday, but the time leading up to the games, and how I prepare our entire team, coaches included, alongside our players, to be at our best when we get those 17 opportunities. And I feel very strongly that I've learned a lot. There's a lot of things that I feel we did well, but there's definitely some things that I look back on personally that I could be much better for our team, and that's going to be a major priority for me.
Welcome to Minnesota, first and foremost. You mentioned shared philosophies kind of on offense and defense, and one of the things that a lot of the players seem to talk about throughout this whole past season was the fact that there was so much camaraderie, like across all three phases of special teams, offense and defense. I'm just curious, with your past stops with different teams, just how have you seen that be a significant piece, having that togetherness in the locker room across phases?
I think it's vital to championship football, to answer, quickly and succinctly. I think it's vital. And I think the seeds have been planted here from that standpoint, and the ingredients are there. And look, every year is different. 2023 is going to be, it's going to be different than 2022. I wasn't here last year. There's going to be, draft picks and players and new players, and that's the National Football League. But the seeds are here from a culture standpoint, from a camaraderie standpoint, from a genuine and authentically, loving one another. Because that's a big part of. I know macho guys don't like to say that all the time, but some of those are in place. And that's a credit to Kevin and Kwesi and the coaching staff and the people that are here, people throughout the building. That doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot that goes into that, and Kev gets a lot of that credit. But there's a lot of people in a lot of different departments who have a hand in that as well. I understand that. I'm sure he does. And again, it's 2023. You have to try to rebuild that, but a lot of those things are already in place, and I'm excited to be a part of that and play a role in trying to accentuate that as much as I can. But that's a total team effort, and to have that kind of buy-in is a credit to everyone in this building.
What was that internal decision to take more over control? Because a lot of guys that have been in the league for a long time would take the control part if you can't have both.
My gut. And oftentimes, look, if I'm in a game and I feel like I got to call a blitz, and my gut tells me that's what I'm doing. I think this is a great opportunity. I really do. I talked about it earlier. I think, for me, there's still more growing to do. I think we're all still growing. We're all still trying to improve and get better. I'm going to ask our players to, try to improve and get better. Even, the best players on our team throughout the league, and really the best players are always trying to grow and improve. I've been around some good ones, and they want to continually be challenged. They want to continually grow. And if I'm going to ask that of, players, I've got to, be an example of that myself. So I went with my gut, and again, I felt like this was a great opportunity.
Brian, you've historically had success with calling pressure out of zero looks. Can you describe kind of the risk-reward proposition of that, and what are some of the keys to doing that successfully?
So you want all the secrets right now?
I was just gonna say.
Right now. Yeah, generally.
It took me some time to get that answer in the interview, so I don't know if you're going to get it right here.
I think, zero gives people some issues. I think if you're willing to, give a blitz zero presentation and send them, and then obviously offensively they've got to prepare for it and have some answers for it. And then it becomes a cat and mouse game. So is it zero? Is it not zero? Any way you slice it, you got to be ready for it. So that's part of the philosophy or the thought process. Maybe I'll try to come up with a different way of presenting it. But that's the game. There's always new trends and new trends. There's always new trends within the league. It's our job to stay up on them, and obviously try to implement them offensively or defend them defensively, or defend them in the kicking game. I think that's what we're always trying to do. We'll spend a lot of time going through what we feel are the next offensive trends, just like I'm sure the offensive staff is going to go through what the next defensive trends are, and what the next trends are in the kicking game, and what the next trends are in personnel game, and what the next trends are in media. I'm sure you guys are going through that yourselves. As professionals, that's what we do. So to answer your blitz zero question, it may be trendy, it may not be. So we'll see as the season progresses. But personally, I like to, give that presentation and make people deal with it.
Assistants do you want to bring in, and what's the timetable for that?
Excuse me, one more time?
How many assistants would you like to bring in, and what's the timetable for that?
I mean, we're really early in the process. I've talked to all of the coaches on the staff. I've had a lot of great conversations from that standpoint. I believe we just lost Alik Terry, correct?
Yep.
So there's a situation there, but we're still very early in the process, and again, conversations are ongoing.
For both of you guys, what was the full extent of how well you guys knew each other before this happened?
Well, when I was in New England, I was a young, I want to say special teams assistant, and when Kev was drafted there, and the things that I remember from our time together was Kev's leadership. Guys gravitated to him. He was smart. He was tough. He was team first. Obviously, it was some competition, a little bit of competition in the quarterback room there. Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little. Obviously, didn't work out and he moved on, but his leadership, his team first attitude, he's a great teammate. Those are the things I remembered, and honestly, we didn't, we weren't like texting back and forth over the years, but when we saw each other at games, we would say hello, and I always kind of kept an eye on his career trajectory, and obviously we saw each other in a few games, but always had a lot of respect for the way he went about his business.
Last one.
That's what I was gonna ask, but I'll ask it to Kevin, in 2008, you were a rookie in the NFL as a player. He was a rookie coach. What were your interactions that season, and then what have they been kind of since then before you guys were reunited here?
Yeah, in the midst of all that competition in the quarterback room, I just remember just organization-wide, just the amount of good people in that building, and then just as a rookie, you spend a lot of time around the other rookies, and that happened to be guys like Matthew Slater, guys like Gerard Mayo that year, who over the years, B-Flow had a huge impact on both those players. And it was that initial kind of interaction, Chris, that I always remember. Just I'm a person that gravitates towards energy and positive people and people that are passionate about what they're doing, regardless of title or role. And that was something I felt right away. But then over the years, keeping in touch with guys like Gerard, Matthew Slater, speaking to them recently about B-Flow and just the way they speak about the man he is, the impact that he had on them. And there's many, many more stories and people like that I reached out to just to get a feel of who I remembered, watching him from afar throughout his football journey, and then hopefully, culminating in us getting to do football together, which I'm so dang excited about. But that mattered to me, what people that I really respect had to say about real time and more importantly, the willingness to share without really needing to pry all that much about the human, the person, and then ultimately the impact that they had on him was huge, throughout the process, getting to learn more and more about this guy.
3-4 or 4-3?
Who are we playing? It's game plan specific, but, it's 3-4.
Thanks, everybody.